What's going on, guys? This is Chandler Smith, and in today's video, I'm gonna share with you how I was able to get 86 storage units under contract in an extremely competitive market while also making one of the biggest mistakes that I have ever made in my real estate investing career. So with all of that being said, let's jump into it. All right, guys, if you're new to the channel, I've been investing in real estate for the last 8 years. I currently own over $18 million of real estate, and I also have $2 million of real estate under contract. Now, in this video, I'm gonna share with you the things that I did to be able to get both of these properties under contract at a very good deal in an extremely competitive market. I also, unfortunately, have to share with you one of the biggest mistakes that I've ever made when it comes to real estate investing that I made on the storage units. So I'm going to focus on the storage unit story, everything that I did to get that under contract, all the principles I followed, and then a mistake that I made again that I made a couple of years ago, but this time it's ended up costing me a lot more money. So now that we've covered all of that, let's jump right into it. First off, you need to understand that I understand, that you understand, that I understand, that it is an extremely competitive market right now. And what this does is it gives a lot of the control to the seller. However, there are a couple things that you need to keep in mind when negotiating deals. First off, do everything that you can to get deals off market, because a lot of times when deals hit the MLS, especially in a competitive market like this one, the seller gets a lot of confidence that they are it. The next thing that you need to know, if they do list on the MLS, a lot of times it can work to your advantage if they've listed too high. Because if they're so confident that they've listed too high, a lot of times they're not going to get offers, or they're not going to get competitive offers. And so this gives you an opportunity to slide in and get it under contract. Now, this is the situation I had with my 11-plex. They listed it too high, so I was able to get it under contract and then be able to negotiate through due diligence and get a great deal on the property. Now, I think it's a fair deal for them, it's a fair deal for me, and we're gonna talk about this deal a lot more in the future. However, today, we're gonna focus on the storage units and how I got them under contract, and one of the biggest mistakes that I've ever made. Now, the storage units were different because they were an off-market deal. Now, if you don't know what an off-market deal is, essentially it's just when you get a property under contract, or you get the opportunity to get it under contract without it being listed on the MLS. That means you're just negotiating with the seller. It's not an open market. It's not where multiple people are putting in offers. It's just you and the seller trying to come to a fair price. And this gives you a lot more time, but also it can give you a competitive advantage because they don't have the leverage of someone else. However, they can use the leverage of, oh, well, we're gonna put it on the MLS, which a lot of times gets you to be a little bit more motivated than you should be. But overall, I prefer getting deals off market because then you can negotiate with them, you can sit down, you can make sure the numbers are fair, and you can get it under contract if you're willing to come to their number, which, if they're willing to be reasonable, is better than competing and then being outbid or being forced into bidding more than what you want to, because a lot of times competition makes us do stupid things. Now, that's not me, but I like off-market deals because I can negotiate with people and usually get to a price that I'm happy with and that they're happy with. However, there is one major rule that I teach in my real estate investing course, that I teach on this YouTube channel, that I share with all of my sales reps, that I tell everyone, anyone, all of them. And that rule is, if you get a deal at your numbers and you would be happy with that, and there's a risk of losing it after you've got it at your numbers, don't be greedy. Settle for those numbers, lock up the deal, and purchase it. Now, this is my rule, and it's been a die-hard rule because years ago I had a property under contract at $70,000 and I tried to get them down to $65,000, and then it ended up selling to someone else for $90,000 because I was stupid. And honestly, at $90,000, it was still a home run deal. It's probably worth $120,000. So from that point forward, I said, Chandler, don't be greedy. If you get the numbers that you need for it to be a home run deal, just take it. Right? Sign on the dotted line, get it under contract, move forward, and don't worry about what you could have gotten, because a lot of times that's going to make you miss deals. And if it meets your criteria, then jump on it. Well, guys, that's been my rule. and I broke that rule. Here's what happened. It was actually one of you guys, and I don't want to list your name because I didn't get permission, but one of the followers of the channel reached out and said, Chandler, I've got a connection with a realtor who has a connection with someone who's trying to sell storage units. They're not listed on the MLS. I know you're always looking for properties, and so would you be interested? And so I said, dude, yes, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. And so again, if there are any of you out here in southeastern Idaho that have deals, please send them my way. But anyways, we got connected. I connected with the realtor and he said, yep, there are 86 storage units. Go and drive by. Let me know what you think they're worth. The owner has them divided up to where they're the storage units, and then there's a shop and a single wide trailer. And he feels that altogether they're worth 1.1 million. However, if he was to sell them separately, he would give you just the storage units for 900,000. But go and take a look. He's not set on those prices, and tell us what you think. So I went and looked at the properties and I said, hey, I want everything. I want to put in an offer at $800,000. Now, I made it very clear that I wanted to buy everything at that price. Now, is that a lot lower than what they were asking? Yes, it is, but you've got to anchor low and then hopefully end in the middle, which hopefully ends up being where I want to be so that my numbers work, and where the seller wants to be so that his numbers work, or he gets the return that he was wanting to on the property. So I clarified it with the agent. We put it in the agreement. We put it in the offer. Now, it took a while for the seller to get back, but guess what? He came back and he said $900,000. Now, I was ecstatic. I was super pumped about this situation, and honestly, the numbers worked for me at $900,000. I was all in. I was ready to purchase the property. However, this was the first back and forth. And so in my mind, I was thinking, you know what? I bet he's got a little bit more wiggle room. I'm gonna push it a little harder. I haven't pushed super hard. We've just had this one interaction. Why not counter again and see where he's at? Because heck, he dropped from 1.1 all the way down to 900,000. Why not do it? Well, here's the thing. It took a long time for him to come back with that offer. And then it took him a long time to come back again. And guess what? He lowered it a little bit more. Now I'm gonna take a pause for a minute, and I'm gonna teach you some principles I use when negotiating. First off, you've got to recognize that yes, the seller does have a lot of control, but they have a couple pain points too. Usually the seller wants things to move quickly, because once they decide that they want to sell, they want to sell. Next off, they want to make sure that they can find a buyer that is qualified. They want someone that will be able to get pre-approved, and not just pre-approved, but that will be able to push the loan through and make sure that it happens. On top of that, it's a very painful process to sell, because you've got to get your taxes in order, you've got to get your profit and loss, you've got to get all of this other jazz. And if you have a buyer that's super anal, like most buyers are, they're gonna go back and forth, they're gonna ask you for all of this information, they're gonna have to go and walk through the property, they're gonna do their inspection, they're gonna do their due diligence. And so I want to try and get it under contract at a good price, but then I also want to get a good deal on due diligence. And that's usually my strategy, is get the best deal I can locked in and then get even more in due diligence. And this strategy has worked extremely well in other deals that I've done. And so this is what I was going for here. But here's the deal. When he came back with 900, I was feeling very confident. I was thinking, dude, that's a great deal for this property. My numbers work. But I got greedy. And this is the same thing I had done before. And so I pushed, and guess what? He came back and he came down a little bit more. Just a little bit, but it was still like, hey, this is awesome. This is gonna be an incredible deal. And so I said, awesome, let's do it. Now, when I locked it up, I told the realtor, hey, I'm all in, let's make this happen. I did it verbally, and unfortunately, I also said, hey, I want to make this a very clean and painless process for the seller. I can crank through the loan. I want to do due diligence extremely fast, so I get it done in 10 days for him, since it's just storage units and this shop and this single wide. It should be a very easy inspection. It should be easy for me to do due diligence on all of it. So if you can make sure that he gets the shop open, the single wide, the storage units, all of that, so that I can come and check him out and get through the process quick, then we'll be set. And I said this all in one back and forth because we were kind of communicating orally instead of doing offers back and forth that were written. Now, the first offer was written. The shop was on there. The single wide was on there. The storage units were on there. We were good to go. I was hyped. I was set. I was ready to roll. And I thought I had just landed an absolutely incredible deal. But the realtor went back to the seller and said, hey, he's happy with what you said. Let's do it. He just wants to make sure you can open up the shop and that we're good to go and let's do this thing. Well, at this point, this is where things got hairy. Immediately, the seller said, whoa, 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 hold up. What are you saying about the shop? Why does he want to see in the shop? I thought this was just the storage units. And the seller's agent said, no, like that was all in the agreement. That's what you signed at the $900,000. You came down a little bit more. And so we're good to go. Like it's everything. Let's make this happen. And he said, no way in heck. There's no way I'm letting it go for that. I said 1.1 for everything. And the agent's like, well, what do you mean? It was on the agreement. That's what we sent you. And he's like, well, I didn't look at the agreement. I didn't check it out. Now, my impulse decision or feeling or emotion when the agent came back to me was, well, what the heck? I'll just sign the previous agreement. Well, guess what? The previous agreement had expired because I had waited. I thought about it. I put in the counter and it had taken him a long time to communicate back. And so we had the written counter, but we didn't have it signed because we had gotten the oral confirmation, and now the seller was backing out. Now, to this day, I don't know if the seller really was just confused or if he got cold feet and decided to bail on the deal because maybe I pushed too hard, maybe he wanted to take it to the MLS. I don't know. And I'm not going to share who the agent is on this deal. I'm not going to share who the seller is because honestly, I think they're both great humans. But for me, I had this whole property under contract, legally binding, good to go with everything on it at $900,000. And now the seller was backing out saying he would only take 1.1. Now we ended up negotiating back and forth a little bit more and we landed on $1 million for everything, which is awesome. It's still a good deal, but it is like past or right on where my numbers needed to be for this deal to make sense. And I'm going to open up the books on everything in the future as far as what my returns will be and where I'll be at. But here is my point with this. And maybe it would have blown up anyways, but had I just accepted the $900,000 offer, I would have had a legally binding contract, and whether the seller knew about it or not, they probably would have just gone for it. Now, could it be blamed on getting cold feet or on the fact that, hey, they really didn't know and maybe they would have come to me and I would have said, look, dude, if you didn't know, I want to be fair, or I don't know. I don't know how it would have ended up because this seller is, you know, he's a good dude and the agent is a good dude. And so maybe it would have just ended up where it did anyways. But there's always that chance when you get the number that you want and then you push too hard that you offend the seller or that you give them cold feet or you get them to back off or you have a situation like this. So what I learned from this deal is when you get the numbers that you want and they're even a little bit more than you want, you're happy with them and the seller's been generous, take the deal. Because if you have a criteria and it makes sense at that criteria, it's not worth blowing up the deal or losing the good deal for a subpar deal because you got greedy. So the big mistake I made was that I got greedy. Now, when it comes to these storage units, I'll probably throw them in later and not tie all the story together so that you can't link up who's who or what's what. As a matter of fact, you don't even know right now whether that deal is going to go through or not, even though probably is because it's still under contract. But in the future, I'm going to give you the update on this deal and other deals. However, I really hope that you learn from my mistakes, and when you get your criteria met, you lock down the deal. Now, the last thing that I will tell you, I'm not buying this deal even though it doesn't meet my criteria. As a matter of fact, it does meet my criteria. I'm happy with it. I feel like we did end at a fair price, even though I could have had an absolute home run on the deal, and I got it for $100,000 less than what I thought I was going to get it for, even though, I don't know, at the end of the day, all's fair in love and war and real estate, and this is probably where it could have ended up anyways. I'm talking circles at this point because it hurts but also I'm happy with it. I'm excited about where we're at. And now I've gotten 11 Plex and storage units under contract, and I'm gonna be going through the whole process. So make sure that you remember to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell so you can catch future updates on these properties and other properties. If you wanna learn more about the steps and everything that you need to know to invest in real estate, make sure you go snag my real estate investing course. Right now it's only 250 bucks. You can use the $50 off code, and here's the deal. We are down to under a month before the price of the course goes up to $500. Yes, it will be doubling from what you can get it for right now. And it's been at the same price for a year, but we've been working for the last year on adding a ton of new content to the course, and we're gonna release all of that within the month. So make sure that you go and check that out. Not within the month, within a month. We plan on releasing that in August. So if you want to, go down. It's www.chandlerdavid. Well, I'm not even gonna give the link. The link is down below. So if you wanna buy the course, you can go hit it up. If you guys enjoyed this update video and me being raw and real and sharing my big mistake on top of some of my enthusiasm with getting both of these deals under contract, make sure that you let me know in the comments, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the future videos where my goal is to help you to build a huge passive income. Thanks guys, have a great day.